What's up everyone, my name's Alpha and today we're back with another Pokemon challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon Omega Ruby and today's challenge is actually one I've been in the works for over a year now. If you guys don't know, on my channel I've been trying to do monotype, shiny only hardcore Nuzlocke runs for a long time, but the one I actually deviated away from is actually this specific video. Is Pokemon Omega Ruby hardcore Nuzlocke using only shiny poison type Pokemon. Now I always thought this was impossible because I know the only Pokemon you can get early on is a Dustox, and you have to clear through Roxanne with just a Dustox at level 14 at the maximum to even have a chance of beating it. So I've tried it multiple times and I was like, this is not gonna work. I don't think this is possible. So I am trying to beat this before 2024, and this is going to be my attempts of doing it. So if you guys don't know what we're doing today, we're playing on Pokemon Omega Ruby and we're doing a hardcore Nuzlocke. So the rules are on screen right now. I can only catch one Pokemon per route, and they must be poison type and they must be shiny type. Big criteria is to be on my team, to be a valid Pokemon. Also, if the Pokemon ever faints, they are dead, so there is a death counter. If my Pokemon ever dies, they are gone and I can't use them ever again. On top of that, there's going to be a level cap. Like I mentioned earlier, a level cap is going to be based on each gym leader's highest level Pokemon. We can't get over that before we face off against them, but in the middle of the fight we can get over it by the XP the other Pokemon gives us. So that is just a hint for what we're doing later on. On top of that, we have to play on set mode and we can't use items inside of battle. You can use hull items, but you can't use items like potions and elixirs inside the battle itself. So on top of that, a fun rule that we're doing gives me my sanity, that each of my Pokemon will be nicknamed after you guys in the comments. So thanks so much for leaving a nickname in my previous challenge video. If you guys want to be nicknamed after your future Pokemon, just drop in the comments and hopefully have pictures. And while you're down there, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, let's get into the challenge video itself. So to begin off, we have to play through the tutorial mode and the first actual few minutes of the game, which doesn't change anything. Now, once we get Pokeballs, we're going to make our way into Petalburg first. We could have got a Wurmple earlier on, but we're going to shiny hunt out here for a Wurmple because you could actually have higher odds of getting ourselves a Cascoon as well. So once we get one of those, we're going to actually catch it and add it to our team. So we found ourselves a Wurmple. I was really hoping it evolves into a Cascoon. So lucky enough, our first Wurmple actually does evolve into a Cascoon, and from there we can evolve the Cascoon into a Dustox. So we have step 1, we have Dustox, shiny Dustox. Now step 2, we have to EV train it. So looking at my calculations, I am trying to just get myself to the maximum damage I can and also the maximum defense I can. I think HP could matter a little bit too, but I'm just gonna max myself out. So early on, the first step in this is just to get max EVs on both my special attack and also my defense. That's why I'm doing Magnemite and also the Spupa super training. So once we get that maxed out, we could actually make our way into playing the game. So it takes a little bit, but it shouldn't be too difficult. We make ourselves into Rustboro City, and we also want to get ourselves to as close to level 15 as possible, but without going past level 14. You know what I mean? I'm trying to just sneak by, cheese the rule a little bit, because I want to get the maximum HP, also the maximum stats I can. So from there, once we get to very close to level 15, we're gonna face off against Roxanne, the first gym leader in the game, and this was actually my second attempt. From there, we're gonna start the battle off against Roxanne using my Dustox. I'm going for Confusion. I survive. Look at the damage. The Rock Tomb, I just absorbed the damage of the Rock Tomb, and I could 2-shot into him with Shield Dust. I can also block the speed drops from Rock Tomb, and I end up 2-shotting the Geodude and get to level 15, learn Poison Powder, which could be useful. From there, the problem comes out. Nose Pass comes out. I'm able to Confusion into him. I just really needed to get confused or also miss a Rock Tomb or go for Harden in one of these turns. It ended up not going for it. I ended up chipping out the low HP, so a crit would have killed him. Fortunately, this forces Roxanne to use a potion, so I go for a Confusion once again. And luckily I outspeed him for the last Confusion. I'm able to get a Confusion off against him. He hits himself in Confusion, and from there I could just knock him out with a Confusion. So from there, a lot of confusions going on. But we end up being down the Nose Pass are actually pretty golden. We end up knocking out Roxanne, clearing through the most impossible part of the challenge, I thought. So from there, we can make our way into Dewford Island, get ourselves some nice items, Silph Scarf, also the Old Rod, and from there we can start fishing out in the wild for another Pokemon. Our next Pokemon we actually want to fish up is going to be a Tentacle, water and poison type Pokemon. So we find ourselves a Tentacle out in the water in Dewford Island. We're going to catch ourselves a Tentacle, add it to our team, and from there we can move out and catch ourselves a Zubat as well. Zubat's giving me a pretty nice pickup as well. Poison and flying type Pokemon. That's actually one of my favorite Pokemon. It's actually really cool when it evolves as well. So we get ourselves a Zubat as well and face off against Brawly next. Brawly's giving me the fighting type gym leader in the game, so we're going to start the battle off against him using my Zubat. Zubat's actually one of the few Pokemon that doesn't one-shot the Machop. So from there, I can actually just go for 2 wing attacks and knock out the Machops. And then from there, his next Pokemon will be a Makuhita, which I one-shot. So we end up knocking out Brawly, and we clear through him pretty easily. So 2 gym badges on our side as we move on, and we almost lose our Zubat to this Electrike. So lucky enough, Dustox saves our lives. We're gonna move on to Route 110 and then start shiny hunting out here for our next Pokemon. Our next Pokemon is gonna be, actually there's 2 Pokemon you can get, Oddish and also the one we got. We got ourselves a shiny Gulpin, which I've never really used Gulpin like that. I used it as a kid and I always thought it was terrible, so I didn't know how to use Gulpin, so I honestly didn't have too much expectation for Gulpin on this run. So anyways, we get ourselves a Gulpin and move on and face off against a rival. We want to use Zubat as much as we can because it raises his happiness, and eventually we're going to evolve it into a Crobat based on happiness. We're going to make our way into Maulville City, and we're getting ourselves the Power Up Punch TM, which is going to be very useful. You'll see why we can teach that to our Gulpin. And from there, we can start shiny hunting out in Route 112, I believe. And out here, it's pretty nice. There's 2 Pokemon you can get, Oddish once again, and also Roselia. Look, you know, we actually get ourselves a Roselia, so we actually maximize all the poison type encounters we get. So we get Oddish and Gloom later on, if we do need. From there, we almost killed the Roselia, by the way. Look at that. I did not know Venoshock would do that much damage, but that's perfect. I mean, in this situation, it's perfect. We catch the cells of Roselia, but any more damage would have been really bad. From there, we're going to face off against the 3rd gym leader in the game. We're going to face off against Watson. Watson can start the battle off against us using a Magnemite as I use my Gulpin. I Power Punch to start the battle off. I outspeed the Magnemite, which is cool. He goes for a Thunder Wave, which I actually block with a Cherry Berry, so it's really huge for us. We end up knocking out the Magnemite, getting +2 with Power Punch, as the next Pokemon will be a Voltorb, and Gulpin's pretty fat, so it's going to survive any move. I didn't mean to body shame Gulpin, but Gulpin's just like tanky, so I made a Power Punch twice into the Voltorb and get another +2. So I have +4 physical attack, as his final Pokemon will be a Magnemite. And then from there, I can go for a Power Punch. I survive any move from him, and then Power Punch twice to knock him out. So we end up being down, actually 3 times because he healed up, but 3 times. Lucky enough, didn't hit myself in confusion, so that could have been really bad for me, but I ended up knocking out the Magneton as we beat down Watson. We get ourselves a 3rd gym match in the game, and from there, we evolve our Zubat into a Golbat, so that's pretty cool. From there, I decided, you know what, maybe it's time. I started going for super training, like the hidden super training, to get myself the shiny stone, which actually works out pretty well for us. And then from there, we can actually go out into the fiery path, get our next Pokemon out here. So in the fiery path, there's 2 different Pokemon we can get, a Grimer and also a Coughing. We don't have a preference for either one, so lucky enough, we get ourselves a shiny Coughing, which wasn't too difficult. I always think of Chugga when I use a shiny Coughing. It's always very memorable for me because Chugga had a Coughing and Weezing that was shiny in his crystal run. But either way, from there we're going to move on and evolve our Golbat into Crobat, so that was actually pretty fast. We also evolve our Gulpin into a Swalot in the time being, so you know what, I thought everyone's evolving, why not evolve my Roselia as well? We also get Giga Drain on it, so that's why I evolve it. So Roselia evolves into Roserade, and from there we can move out, face off against Maxie, and then beat down Maxie, move on and face off against Flannery next. Flannery's gonna be the fire type gym leader in the game. We're gonna start the battle off against her using my Swalot. Swalot's, surprisingly, I'm using a lot of them. Swalot's can go for Bodos with Soft Sense and knock out the Slugma. From there, her next Pokemon will be a Numel, which I go for 2 Power Punches off against him, as he actually goes for a Earth Power, which is actually dangerous. Looking up, I survive it because Swalot, again, is very fat. I'm able to get 2 more Power Punches off against the Numel as it heals up, and we get +4 against the Numel. And from there, her next Pokemon will be a Torkoal. I survives my Bodos for some reason, but looking up, I'm able to knock him out with 2 Bodos as he goes for Curse. We end up knocking out Flannery, and from there, we're going to obviously evolve my Tentacool into my Tentacruel, and then move on and face off against Norman next. Norman's going to be the Norm type gym leader in the game. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Swalot. Again, I'm using Swalot a lot more than I thought. So Swalot's going to start the battle off against Norman Slacking, which honestly wasn't too great. I get Sludge Bomb off against him, but he does yawn me, so I got to switch out into my Roserade. Roserade gets a Stun Spore off against the Slacking, and it encores me. So I'm going to switch out into my Swalot. Swalot's going to take this opportunity and just boost up with Power Punches, and it works out pretty well for us as I wake up in my second turn, get another Power Up Punch, he gets paralyzed, and then from there I can just chip him down. I end up knocking him out with like +5, which is kind of crazy. So I killed a Slacking. His next Pokemon will be Vigoroth. I go for a Power Punch once again. He goes for an Encore, and yeah, I just one-shot the Vigoroth, as his final Pokemon will be another Slacking. He goes for Chip Away, which, I don't mean, he had Retaliate. But either way, I go for a Power Punch. 2 Power Punches would knock out the Slacking as we end up beating down Norman. We're going to make our way into the Weather Fortress and get ourselves the Mystic Water. Also face off against Team Magma, you know, whatever. They're not too important. We'll also evolve our Coughing into a Weezing. And then from there, we can move on and face off against Winona next. Winona is going to be a 6th gym leader in the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Crobat. Crobat actually has a pretty cool move, Acrobatics. It's 120 power basically, so it's going to one-shot the Swallow, and yeah. From there, her next Pokemon will be a Skarmory, which I go out into my Tentacruel against, which Tentacruel has a nice new move, which I don't use. I use Water Pulse off against the Skarmory, and then I also didn't attach the Mystic Water to him yet, so I'm just throwing entirely. So from there, I use Surf after he was up, and then knock out the Skarmory. Her next Pokemon will be an Altaria, which I assume is going to go for an Earthquake. So I go out to my Crobat, and then it goes for Cotton Guard. I'm like, why would you use Cotton Guard? What if I use Sludge Bomb? What if I didn't have Sludge Bomb, but what if I use Sludge Bomb? You know what? I go for a Confuse Ray. It goes for a second Cotton Guard. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna switch out into my Weezing at least. So from there, it goes for Dragon Breath, and then okay. Why did it do that? I go for Sludge Bomb, really hoping I get the Poison. I don't get it, but she gets the Paralyze with Dragon Breath, which I think it's lower percentage of she getting that. But either way, she hits herself in Confusion. I knock him out with Sludge Bomb, and then her final Pokemon will be a Pelipper, which I go out to my Roserade. After almost losing my Weezing, I go out to my Roserade, knock him out with a Giga Drain, and I'm knocking out. Yeah, we end up beating down Winona pretty easily. From there, we can move on and face off against the Team Magma Fortress. We're already here. Wow, this video is going by fast. Anyways, cleared on Team Magma Fortress, beat down Courtney pretty easily, face off against Tate and Liza. Now, this battle, it's a Psychic type battle, and I thought they're gonna actually be pretty difficult for once. I was wrong. So I started the battle off with my Tentacruel and Roserade, my two highest special defense walls that also do some nice damage. I go for a Water Pulse against the Solrock, and also Giga Drain against him. So to knock out the Solrock and to see what the Lunatone does, it goes for Light Screen, and the battle is over because it didn't do anything. So I was really hoping I didn't need to do anything, but kind of disappointed that they were kind of bad. So we end up beating down Tate and Liza. So yeah, stupid gym leader. Anyways, we also go out into this underground cave. We get ourselves the TM for Scald and face off against Maxie one more time. We're gonna face off against Maxie with my Tentacruel with Scald now, and Scald Mystic Water, yeah, killed everything on his team. So yeah, it's pretty good. You can see Tentacruel is one of my favorite Pokemon because it's just super good. Tentacruel and Crobat, ironically, are two like hated Pokemon because they show up too often when you're surfing or in caves. And I'm not even commentating this fight because I'm literally just spamming Scald. There's nothing else to do. I can see why Crobat, Golbat, Tentacruel, and Tentacool are like disliked because they kind of like everywhere so often. It's kind of annoying, but you know, they're pretty good Pokemon. There's a reason why they're showing up. You know, the game developers are helping you guys out. But anyways, we're going to face up against Groudon next. Primal Groudon is actually pretty strong. I did not realize that it's going to be really hard to fight. So I use Weezing, really hoping Lava Plume doesn't kill me. So I'm going to go for Smoke Screens against him, but he decides to use ground moves against my Levitating Weezing. And he used every single move possible. He even used Rest at full HP. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you have Lava Plume. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure you have Lava Plume. So I think his AI is bugged out, which he can't really he can't react to me at all. So I use Sludge Bomb into him. I eventually get Poison, right? No, he just goes for a Rest. I'm like, I'm just gonna switch out. I get two free turns against him. So I Giga Drain one turn, he stays asleep, and then Giga Drain the second turn, and yeah, Groudon goes down. So I beat down Primal Groudon, I guess. From there, we're gonna move out, do a little harder fight. We're gonna face off against Wallace. Wallace can be the 8th gym leader in the game. We're starting the battle off against him using my Roserade, and Roserade stun spores into the Love-Disc, which here comes the longest drawn out fight. So essentially all I want to do is get a Leech Seed off against him, then I get infinite recovery. I also get growth off against him, so I get infinite special attack, and then I can knock out the rest of his team. But unfortunately, Love-Disc has Attract and also Sweet Kiss to confuse me midway through. And also my Roserade is a male, so it's gonna get attracted. Eventually, after 2 minutes of stalling, eventually I am able to just Leech Seed him and knock him out in the right amount of turns. So actually no, it was 3 minutes. 3 full minutes of stalling. So I can't believe this one interaction took 3 minutes. But eventually, Confusion does not wear off, but the Love-Disc dies. From there, his next Pokemon will be a Maladig, which lucky enough, I break through Confusion at the right time, Giga Drain to knock out the Maladig, and we end up beating down Wallace. So next up, he's going to switch out to his Whiscash, which I Giga Drain, of course, one-shot it, Celio one-shot, and also his Seaking one-shot as we beat down Wallace. Yeah, officially now. And we get the 8th gym badge in the game, but we're not done yet. We're not going to go to the Elite Four just yet. We go back and get ourselves the TM for Ice Beam, which is going to be, I don't know why I said it like that, Ice Beam. I got Ice Beam, and then from there we also get the Sludge Bomb TM, and then face off against Wally in Victory Road as we clear through Wally pretty easily, get ourselves to the level cap, just barely under. We'll almost lose our Pokemon in the process. That could have been really bad, but we clear through Wally, get ourselves into the Pokemon League, and then face off against the Elite Four themselves. We also got to get rid of all the 8 gems on our team, so from there we can move on and face off against the Elite Four. The first Elite Four member we're going to face off against is going to be Sydney. Sydney's going to be the Dark type Elite Four member, and we're going to start the battle off against him using my Dustox. Now Dustox able to go for a Quiver Dance off against the Mightyena. Take Crunch. Luckily it didn't go for Swagger. I was really afraid of that, but from there I go for a Bug Buzz and knock out the Mightyena, and yeah, the battle's basically over. His next opponent will be a Shift Tree. I don't get faked out because of the secondary effect. And then Bug Buzz to knock him out. And then from there, his next Pokemon will be an Absol. Go for a Bug Buzz to knock him out as well. His next opponent after that will be a Sharpedo. I wonder what I'm going to do. And I one-shot him. So from there, his final opponent will be a Cacturne. I one-shot him. And we end up beating on Sydney in 1 minute and 30 seconds. So that's pretty good. From there, we're going to face off against Phoebe next. Phoebe's giving me the Ghost type belief for a member. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Swalot. Well, it's a strange Pokemon. It could learn Shadow Ball, so I'm going to use Shadow Ball. As I'm actually, unfortunately, going to get Confused Ray in this. So I hit myself in confusion. So I get cursed down, so I thought it was gonna knock itself out, but it's also getting cursed me, so I gotta switch out. I decided to switch out into my Crobat against the Bayonet as it tries to go for a Grudge. I'm like, knock this off. I'm gonna go for a Confused Ray. Hopefully it hits itself in confusion, and then go for an Acrobatics to knock him out. So it ends up working out well for us as we knock out the Bayonet. Her next opponent will be a Sableye, which I go for a Crunch. No, I go for an Acrobatics. So Acrobatics crit to knock out the Sableye, as the next opponent will be a Dusknoir. I go for a Bite to try to flinch it. Did not work, but I survived a Thunder Punch pretty easily, so I go for a Fly against the Dusknoir. Then it's getting Thunder Punch into me and do a lot of chip damage, so I'm forced to heal and then go for an Acrobatics. I'm like, I could have just done that the whole time. So anyways, Crobat's too low to actually risk the Acrobatics, so I'm going to switch out into my Tentacruel. Tentacruel survives the Ice Punch pretty easily and then serve to knock out the Dusknoir, as her final opponent will be a Bayonet, which I go for a Scald. Burns down the Bayonet, burns me in the process as well, but I'm just gonna go for a Surf, knock him down to low HP, and then eventually knock him out with a Scald, as we end up beating down Phoebe pretty easily. From there, we're gonna move on and face off against Glacia next. Glacia's gonna be the Ice type Elite Four member, and she's kind of strong, so we gotta be very careful as we start the battle off against her using my Swalot. Swalot's able to go for a few Power Punches once again against the Glalie. I get 3, I think. Knock out the Glalie, as your next opponent will be a Frostlass, which I do have Earthquake with, so I don't know why it's confusing me. I knock myself to low HP. It crits me with a Blizzard. Lucky enough, I break through confusion. I'm able to Earthquake and knock out the first Frostlass, as the Hail almost knocks me out as well. From there, her second Frostlass comes out. I gotta be very careful as I go out into my Tentacruel. Tentacruel is able to go for a Scald against Frostlass, and then it sets up Hail. So I'm like, okay, I just don't mind that. I Scald once again and 2-shot into him. And then from there, I knock out the Frostlass, as her next opponent will be a Walrein. And I'm very, I don't like this. This situation is really bad for me. It could go for Sheer Cold, as it does, and it misses luckily, but it could land at any moment. So lucky enough, I do have a level 55 Pokemon, so it actually outlevels their Walrein. So that means one hit KO moves does not affect me, so I'll maybe just block the Sheer Cold and then go for an Acrobatics, knock out the Walrein in the process, so outplaying Glacia. And then finally, her last Pokemon will be a Glalie, as we 2-shot into him with my Acrobatics Crobat. So we end up beating down Glacia, and now we can move on and face off against Drake next. Drake is going to be the Dragon type Elite Four member in the game. We're going to start the battle off against him. This fight is actually shorter than Sydney. So we're going to start the battle off against him using my Tentacruel, Ice Beam to knock out Altaria. His next opponent will be a Flygon. I Ice Beam once again to knock him out. His next opponent after that will be a Salamence. I Ice Beam once again. His next opponent after that will be a Flygon, which I Ice Beam once again. And his final Pokemon will be a Kingdra, which I don't Ice Beam and knock out. I Sludge Wave, knock him down to low HP, and then go out to my Roserade. Roserade is able to go for a Giga Drain and knock out the Kingdra, as we end up beating down Drake. Yeah, under a minute fight, I believe. So yeah, that was pretty easy. As we move on and face off against Steven Stone next. Steven Stone is going to be the champion in the game. We're going to start the battle off against him using my Swalot. Now, Swalots didn't have Fire Blast or something like that. Could have got Fire Blast, but I have Ice Beam. I'm trying to freeze down the Skarmory, try to get some nice damage off against him. Eventually knock him down to low HP and activate his full restore, which kind of sucks, but whatever. I go for Ice Beam once again, eventually knock him down to low HP, go for Power Punch and then Ice Beam to secure the KO against the Skarmory, as the next Pokemon will be an Aggron. I'm going for an Ice Beam, hoping for a freeze. Doesn't get it, but I do survive an Earthquake, even though it was a crit. I'm like, oh my god, that did a lot of damage. Anyways, Earthquake to knock out the Aggron at least, and then from there, his next Pokemon will be a Claydol. I go out into my Roserade, which will take an Earth Power, which isn't great. And it's unfortunately take an extra Sensory as I missed Sunspore, which I'm like, what? When's the last time I missed that? Anyways, that sucks. So I got a Giga Drain into him. Luckily, it didn't set up Light Screen, so I'm able to knock out the Claydol. His next Pokemon will be a Cradily, which I go for the Growth right in front of. So I can take an Ancient Power. Unfortunately, it was a crit as well, so I get a Giga Drain off in the second turn. From there, I take another Ancient Power. I Growth once again as I knock out the Cradily on my second attempt. And then from there, his next Pokemon will be our Model, which I go for a Giga Drain, one-shot the Model, which is really nice. And his final Pokemon will be a Mega Metagross, which obviously he's getting Mega, and then it's going to Z Headbutt into me. I really wish I got Shadow Ball on my Roserade, or I could have just one-shot him, but unfortunately I don't. and he's gonna Zen Headbutt and knock me out as I got a Stun Spore off against. I go out to my Crobat next to see if I get some chip damage off against him. I go bite into him and hoping for a flinch. I get 2 paralyzes, but unfortunately I knock him down to low HP, and then he's gonna Zen Headbutt and knock out my Crobat as well. So unfortunately I get 2 deaths in that, so I go out to my Tentacruel. Surf would knock him out for sure as we end up beating on Steven Stone, but losing 2 Pokemon at the end against the Metagross, which is kind of annoying. I don't think I could really like change that, honestly. That Metagross was taking something with it, but honestly I'm really happy that we end up beating down my final monotype of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. We cleared through it pretty easily. Like throughout the entire game we beat it down. Just the Dustox shenanigans at the start of the game is the only thing that was really holding it back. So honestly, I'm really happy that I did it before 2024. Before 2024, even though you guys seen this in 2024, I was able to just barely do it before 2024 and have it recorded. I guess it doesn't matter because I'm posting it before after 2024. I didn't really think of that through. But anyways, that'll be the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you guys can, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, my name is Alpha, and I hope you guys all had a great day, and I'm out. Peace.